Hello, hello. This is Orlando, and this is also Late Night Right. And tonight, looks like we won't have Kaz with us because she's doing another move. And where she is, it's actually Sunday, daytime, so that's when she usually does the moves because it's just easier, traffic wise and everything else. So that's what is happening over there. And tonight, if you were with us last weekend, then you saw us breaking down and setting up the information that's going to be in the next scene that we're going to be writing. And yeah, got my notes, which is lots of fun. And so, what we're going to do is we're going to take it from here where we are in basically the storm has all happened here, and then we're going to take it to Michael, and this is basically our midpoint. So this massive storm has happened here, right, with Sean and his two sons, and then now we're going to take it to Michael, and basically the effect of what his running system has done, that the whole area of that the city where that building is blackout. So that's the first thing that we're going to be seeing is the storm is still is still going on a bit, and everything is blacked out because we're going to see that actually from the boss's office, which will be really cool. And here we go. I got my list of characters. Which is going to be cool. So first things first, what we will do is bring up the script. Okay. Here I am mucking about, trying to figure out where everything's gone to. Okay. Ooh, wow. Does that look small? Wow. Hang on, let's fix that. Alrighty, that's a bit better. Okay, good. That'll do it. As usual. So, first things first, we're just going to leave these guys hang because they don't know what they're going to do, and we'll find out in the morning what'll happen. So now we want to go to exterior city night because we don't have a specific city in mind. It just all we need to know is we have the city. It's a whole big industrial corporate type of area. So you've got a lot of very tall buildings. But we're going to see that the whole place is blacked out. So this is basically going to be well, used to be called a crane shot. Nowadays it's called a drone shot. But we'll leave that for the directing script. And just go... Okay, so from above the whole corporate area of the city is blacked out. There we go. So that gives us that tells you what the people inside the building are going to be dealing with right off the hop. We already know, right? So now we're going to interior Imagi. Let's see. Boardroom. Let's do Josie's office. And we'll have okay, so we have Josie digging in a desk drawer. Okay, so now we go over here. Yeah, we'll have her dig around in the drawer. Because she doesn't know exactly where it is, but she knows it's in that drawer. And then she pulled out a mini flashlight and flicks it on. Before she until she heads out into the hallway. There we go. Everything is dark out the hall window with the odd small flash of lightning, which means the majority of the bad storm has already passed. And so now they're in the city, they're getting the trailing end of the storm. Whereas for Sean and those guys out further away from the city, there's still, as far as they can see, there's still a lot of storm yet to come. So that tells you how far away they are from the city. Okay. Alrighty. So Josie says, great. And she looks around while she's thinking, I guess. And is now, how am I going to get out? And she heads for the stairway door. Okay, so now we're going to go back to the boardroom here. And we're going to see that, yeah, we got Patrick. Alrighty, so we're gonna have Patrick, who this is the head boss of this whole area, I guess you could say. And that area being, a great big swath of, like a quarter or an eighth of the planet type of deal that he's in control of. So that's a pretty large area. Okay. All right. So we're gonna have Patrick scowls at the darkness that's beyond the window, right? Okay. Okay, in a flash of lightning. That's why we can see that Patrick scowls at the darkness beyond the window. In a huff, he shoves his chair out and marches for the door. Alrighty. Alright. So now we're going to go back to... I don't know. Should Michael be on the tech floor in general? In the working area? Or should he be in a specific work room where other individuals are doing their job? Because the tech floor is where they're making products. They're making they're making some of the pieces that they need. The workroom or Michael's area. Because we're always in Michael's area when we're coming into here, right? So I'm thinking, okay, we're gonna go on the tech floor. And it's gonna be night. Okay, so we have the lights are on, the machinery works. Okay. Okay, so at the end of a stopped line, Michael and who else have we got here that's working with Michael? All right. So we have Nestor, we have Yosef. Okay, right. The AI geek is Oscar. And we have Guy, or Guy. Alright. So the DNC worker is Yosef. Mm-hmm. Okay, but Nestor is tech and electricity. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll use that. No, shouldn't have to be so carefully if the parts are made to match. Okay, so what they're actually doing at the end of this stopped work line is Michael and Nestor together. What they have is a multi-pocketed sheet that will hold, like, say, 3, 6, 9, 12 PC computer boards, right? And what they're doing is they're seeing how the fit is, how good they fit in there, if it needs to, because it's one piece, so they need to know if it needs to be adjusted for the literal size of PC boards that they're putting into it. because all of those boards have to be interlinked. So this is the purpose for it. And not too bad considering I just thought of that. Okay. Okay, so the boards sit in snug by themselves without having to be framed in or anything. Okay. Okay, so what they're going to do is flip it over, and because you're just going to have the back sides, right? And you can have all the PC boards already in there, but now they have to decide where would be the best place for those wires to come out so that they can be connected together. Like, because they could do it in series, right? So it's like this, down, 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 right? Connecting that way. Or it could be that they're done in sections because different sections will line up with different things and have to be hooked. Each of those sections will be hooked onto something different when it comes to the final product. Alrighty. So for Nestor himself, and he's the guy who does the tech in electricity. So he is saying that, okay, series works best for me, right? And Michael is saying, gonna be, okay, how many rows? Nestor's not sure. And Michael just tells him, be sure. Okay, so Nestor pulls out his phone and keys in calculations. Okay, so now they know this this piece here that they're working on needs to have 6 in a series, so that can be side to side, depending on how the boards are actually put in. So that would be, if they're coming out with 3 pockets per, 3 pockets wide, he's going to need 2 rows to make 1 series. So if you got 2 rows and Michael needs to put them into 8 sections, that means they have to have 16. 16 rows. But if they do it wider, oops, not supposed to be Matthew, it's supposed to be Michael. You can tell Matthew was the thing that was the name that was used the most. That's the first one that comes up. Okay, so now Michael is bringing Yosef into the conversation because Yosef is the actual guy who's designing and making these. He's the DNC operator. So he's the one who's actually punching in the information needed to make all the different parts. Okay, so we're going to have Michael and Nestor wander over to Yosef. Okay. What final dimension do you need of the whole sheet? How about 4 of the whole sheet? Okay, so Michael is saying it doesn't matter. So it could be wider, like maybe 6 boxes across and then 8 down. Or it can be 3 across and 16 layers down. Or any combination in between. But the easiest way, or the most efficient way of doing it is to make sure that when you're running something in series, you make sure you don't have an odd number. Like if he decided to go 8 across, when 6 is needing, there's going to be 2 left over. And then it's going to do it again and again and again and then it just makes it. You don't want wires going and crossing across the actual work area you're on. You want wires to be on the ends, on the sides, or you want them to be on the top or the bottom, so that you have them all laid out where you need them, and you just take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And that is usually the most efficient way of doing it, to line everything up in order for the way you need them. But if they're all Mickey Mouse and back and forth and crossing over in front of your whole thing, that just makes a spider web, and then you have to start marking the actual wires, which one they are, which means another step of work, right? If you don't have to mark, I mean, you got 6 rows. Alrighty. Yeah, okay, look, Joseph grins like, well, then anything goes. Okay, so Nestor is going to do 6 across, and let's get this back to Michael here. Nestor says 6 across. Michael says 8 down. So all of Nestor's series is going to go across one line. That's going to be one. It'll be done. And then you're going to have 8 rows of 6 across. And then each of those ones will either come out on the left-hand side or the right-hand side. The actual wires, once they're interconnected, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, your wiring is now going to either start on this side and have holes on this side for wires to go in and holes on the other side for it to go out. So both sides, they can cap off whichever side they're not going to use, right? But this makes it so that and then Joseph says holes left and right, centered. Question mark, because it is a question. And Michael glances at Nestor. Okay, Joseph says, will do, boys. I'll call you when she's done. And just so you know, Joseph is a wee bit older than Michael. And quite a bit older than mid-20s Nestor. That's just to give you guys a reminder that we already do know what these guys' names are and what their ages are and the type of things that they do. And we just have... It's been a while since we've talked to them. So that's just a little bit of a recap for those that are listening. Yeah. And Joseph is just kind of matter-of-factly, he's not asking a question. He's just saying, he's really not used to people hearing him, is he? You'll get there, my friend. And this is what Michael says after he smiles and pats Joseph on the shoulder. Do, 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 do. Okay, so Michael walks toward his workspace, and he's quickly overtaken by Nestor. And Nestor grins back over his shoulder at Michael. Okay, Michael smiles to himself. Alrighty. Okay. At this point here, this should probably be given its internal header. Alrighty. This now has to become Michael. Okay, glances at the elevator. So Alrighty. So here we gotta put extra, a little bit extra in here, because Michael has been working in this place without being able to leave the building. And now it's been probably more than a week, right? I would say at this point probably about 2 weeks. And so he's not been able to go outside. He's not been able to go anywhere at all. So when he glances at the elevator, I mean, he had the smile on his face, and then he kind of got hit by a sadness. I mean, it's a longing to be able to go out. Is that kind of look on his face that it just like, why am I doing this? What am I here? Why am I here? It's one of those kind of things. But I guess he answers his own question because he quickly turns to his workroom, right? Okay, so and we want Michael's area. There we go. Okay, so Michael sits heavily in his chair, and then he turns to his work table and begins to assemble components. Now, at this point, let's see. See, what we've already done is that we have seen the upstairs part of the building has no power. We've seen that the city has no lights, right? We've seen that Michael's floor does have power. Now all the machines are still working, right? And that's the way we want this to feel, because that way people understand that there's a complete disconnect between Michael's floor that he's working in and that he controls compared to the rest of the building and the rest of the city. He knows something they don't know. He's got power, they don't. And this is the whole deal here. So now what we're going to do is okay, so now we're inside the stairwell. Okay. Okay, she hears a noise above, and she stops. And who is it landing on? Patrick. Yeah. Alrighty. So, Josie just says, hey, Patrick. Um, while he's in motion, has any idea what's going on? And Josie says, the storm must have blown the city power. And of course, Patrick is just kind of being snarky. You got infrastructure. Why is it always infrastructure? Duh. And there we go. Patrick catches up with Josie, and they both continue down the stairs together. And Josie says, because no one pays attention when it's working well. And of course, Patrick is more like, better start. This is unacceptable. And Josie looks ahead down the stairs, barely hides her smile. Well, that's not. In other words, that's not unacceptable. Okay. So Patrick is going to look down the stairs. So we're going to see them both look down the stairs. So they're both in the same picture still. Rather than being a one shot. Okay. And then we go literally to the floor and a half down. Light comes from the stairwell emergency door. So it's like, somebody's got power here. What's going on? Okay, so she heads down the stairs with Patrick right behind her. No, this wouldn't be in Patrick's personality. That's gotta go. Okay. Okay, amused, Josie takes her time down the stairs. In other words, yeah, let him have his moment. He's going to be first into the light, whatever it is that's going on. And we do want Michael to be talking to him right off the hop. He's going to be asking the questions, right? Patrick's going to be, he's going to be wanting to know how come you got power and the rest of the building doesn't, right? So that is how it's going to run through. So we're going to take it from here and go back into Michael's work area. Yep, that'll work out. That'll work out great. So already, just with what we've done here, we've just added, 4 full pages. just on what we've been working on tonight. So this is awesome. This is gonna go on to into next week too, obviously, because there's gonna be at least another good probably 8 pages going on into different sections. Pardon me, going into different sections here, because now we're going to be in Michael's area, and then, well, he's going to hear the noise happening at the doorway, the stairwell. He's going to go and investigate, right? And of course, Patrick's going to be the first one through the door and like, oh, what the heck? Why is there light down here and nowhere else? Right? That kind of thing. And then Josie's going to come through the door next, and it's going to become a conversation, and possibly Michael showing them that we're not using any electricity from anybody. That's going to be the real eye-opener to Patrick. This is Michael proving his point, proving that he can make this system that nobody can shut down for the simple fact that it does not require to be plugged in. And that's the whole genius of his whole plan, is no matter what we set up, it cannot be shut down. And this is where Patrick gets the stars in his eyes, right? Because his whole intention is to run everything. He wants to control all the different areas around the world. And that is, no matter what Michael tells him, he's going to hear what he wants to hear. It's not quite set up, but it had to start being this way, or you couldn't finish it being this way. Everything has to be in a state where it is hidden, so that none of the other corporate bosses could get wind of it. This is a new technology, a new way, and that's just the way it's going to be. And whoever has it is, hopefully going to be a good person and use it well. But we will hope that's how it's going to end up here. That's all I can say, because to say anything else would be giving away stuff that's going to be happening later. And we don't want to do that. At least not at this point, anyway. Alrighty. So, that's as far as I'm going to go tonight. Because then we're going to have the... I'm going to pop that out. That's good. On the way there. Alrighty. Everything is all set here. Alright, so... now, what we're going to do is just finish up for tonight. Yep. I know Kaz, I think, has been working on her book. I know I've been doing more editing here during the weeks. But when I'm not writing, I'm gardening, and when I'm not gardening, I'm writing. And it's that time of year for gardening, so having some fun with both of them. And on that note, like, share, all that good stuff. Let people know if they want to learn how to write, or to see how co-writers work together and how we plan scenes together and stuff like that. This is a place to come and figure that out, and see how partners who work well together work, rather than having partners that don't get along or don't work well together. Because I know Kaz and I have been doing this for almost 20 years that we've been working together, and we've never had a fight about a script ever. As you'll find out, once we're done writing this one, then we'll go back through it and we will start pinpointing and just literally ripping apart how can we make this better. Because this is just the bare bones draft is what we're doing here. Some of this dialogue will stay, some a good chunk of it probably won't, because the dialogue is the absolute last thing you concern yourself with in a script. The dialogue is, for me, is just it's a holding place for the type of tone or the type of feeling we want to have here. But that doesn't mean it has to show up in the dialogue in the finished product. But the rest of the scene has to reflect that emotion, that feeling, that tone. Are you winning at the end? Are you losing at the end? It's all plays through the rest of the writing. Then sometimes the dialogue means a lot, but a lot of times all you need is it's what they're doing in the background at the same time that they're talking about something else. That really makes a bigger impact. Because then you see it, for them, this isn't anything special. But for somebody else, this is huge. This is mind-blowing. Right? And that is the effect you want to have. If you want to have, if you want producers and actors, not to mention directors as well, to work on the project, you've got to give them something that's intriguing, something that makes it challenges them, that gives them something they haven't seen before, right? Which gives the people, the audience, something they've never seen before. And that is a real goal to screenwriting. Yeah, because doing the same thing over and over and over and over, you just end up with a lesser and lesser and lesser result. Because it gets old fast. You know, I started writing in 1999 because even at that time, back then, I had already had it with remakes and reboots. And here we are, almost 30 years later, and they're still doing the same thing. I don't know what they think they're doing, but original isn't it? So on that note, my friends, have yourself a wonderful weekend. You know, go out, smell the roses, have fun, and then, you know, come home, do some writing. It always helps to have experiences before you write. Good night, all.